Picture a long, pale corridor. The lighting is that specific shade of fluorescent that makes everyone look slightly nauseous. You are sitting in a plastic chair, holding a ticket with the number 84, while an electronic display flashes the number 12. You have a rich history, a complicated life, and private fears. But in this room, you have been politely asked to wait outside. This corridor is the price of a certain kind of dream. It's what progress looks like when it's finished. When a society decides that decisions should be based on universal rules rather than the unpredictable moods of a king, it eventually builds this architecture. It's a system designed to be fair, predictable, and entirely indifferent to who you actually are. Max Weber, one of the primary architects of modern social thought, saw this reality arriving a century ago. He watched the paperwork growth thicker in the universities and trading firms of Imperial Germany and gave the resulting structure a name, the iron cage. Weber's brilliance lay in mapping the cold logic of our institutions. Yet by focusing on historical patterns, he lost sight of the individual inhabitant. He described the bars of the cage in extraordinary detail, but he rarely looked at the face of the prisoner leaning against them. In his book, The Antisocial Sociology, philosopher Boris Kriger argues that Weber's blind spot became a permanent feature of how we study ourselves. For decades, the social sciences have described societies as massive machines and human beings as the lubricant that keeps the gears moving. By treating the individual as a statistical denominator for the sake of an elegant pie chart, the discipline drifted away from the very thing that makes society a meaningful concept. Academics began building towering theoretical models of populations whose actual members they had never really met. They issued confident predictions about global shifts while ignoring the specific, messy inner lives of the people living through them. Krieger's premise is that to truly understand our world, we have to stop looking exclusively at the map and start listening to the travelers. We have to ask a question the grand theories rarely pose. What does it actually feel like to survive inside these structures? Modernity was built on a process called rationalization. We stripped away the warmth and favoritism of traditional life, replacing them with standardized, professionalized procedures. We gained efficiency and fairness, but we lost the ability to be seen as individuals by the systems that govern us. This diagram illustrates what Weber called secular asceticism. It's the drive that keeps the modern office running. We inherited the grueling, anxious work ethic of 17th century Calvinists, but we lost the religious meaning that once made that labor feel necessary. Now, the program runs for its own sake, outputting endless metrics. As sociology grew more scientific, it leaned into this mechanical view, leaving the social to be measured in cold, structural terms. But measuring the efficiency of the machine tells us very little if we refuse to ask what it costs the individual to be the lubricant. A sociology that loses sight of the exhausted, daydreaming person inside the structure has abandoned its real subject. To bridge this gap, Kriger points to the concept of Verstehen, or empathetic understanding. It's reconstructing the meaning of an action from the actor's perspective. It's what a detective does in an empty apartment, or what a doctor does, listening to a silent patient. Consider a worker in a modern fulfillment center. To the corporate algorithm, she is a configurable unit of throughput. Her 11 years of localized, embodied knowledge, the specific way she navigates the aisles, is treated as a rounding error. When she leaves, the system expects to replace her on Monday without losing a beat. Now look at the poet. He spends an entire afternoon trying to find the exact right word to describe an apricot. He produces nothing that a spreadsheet can register. In a world obsessed with quantifiable output, his unmeasured, unoptimized creation is a quiet form of sabotage against the logic of the cage. Focusing on these individual lives reveals the truth behind the grand theories. These vast, intimidating structures only exist because millions of individuals make the daily choice to show up and play their parts. The machine depends entirely on the continued ascent of the people it ignores. Weber's iron cage is actually a translation of the German Stahlhartes Gehäuse. A more accurate English rendering would be a steel-hard casing or a housing. This casing is integrated into our very sense of self. It has become a form of life support that defines how we function in the world. We have lived inside it so long that removing it would feel like a total personal collapse. It's no longer just a structure around us, it's the geometry of how we think. We make this fusion bearable by pasting wallpaper over the inside of the shell. We use corporate jargon like work-life balance, well-being initiatives, and personal branding to soften the visual impact of the bars. This wallpaper tricks us into believing we're making an interior design choice. We feel empowered and creative while checking our work emails at midnight. The casing remains unchanged. We've just learned to admire the pattern on the walls. Kriger's work isn't a self-help guide offering an escape plan. The bureaucratic casing covers the globe, and there is no outside left to walk into. The value of this perspective is the power of awareness. It's the ability to see the casing for what it is, to notice the exact bar you've been leaning against, and to recognize the wallpaper as an artificial layer. Return to that fluorescent waiting room and look at the person in the chair next to you. They are carrying a history and a set of ambitions that a spreadsheet will never catch. They are a neighbor, struggling with the difficulty of being alive inside the same cold conditions. True enduring freedom lives in the unmeasured gap between the system and your own inner life. Weber saw the cage, but he turned away. To see the person inside is where the real work